Our opening song today is number 58, Ring Out Wild Bells, from the Gray Hymnal. We will sing verses 1 through 3. Please rise as you're willing and able. We bid you welcome. In this community of radical inclusion, you make space for what you believe and what you love. Your whole self is welcome here. In this community of open-hearted inclusion for all people, we do not expect you to think a certain way or restrict yourself to one set of beliefs. We only ask that you try to live a kindly, helpful life with the dignity proper to a human being. Welcome all who believe that religion is wider than any sect and deeper than any set of opinions. Welcome all who might find in our friendship strength and encouragement for daily living. We are so grateful you are here. My name is Ellen Greenya, and I am your service and song leader today. My pronouns are she, her. Thank you for spending your Sunday morning with us, whether enjoying the service in person or watching online. I'd like to extend a special welcome to any visitors today. After the service, we invite you to join us in our reception hall downstairs for coffee, bagels, and conversation. Please take a moment now to silence your phones, but we encourage you to share your presence with us on social media. I have several announcements. Tomorrow evening at Farmington African Methodist Episcopal Church at Narden Park Methodist Church, they are hosting a Kwanzaa festival at 6 p.m. You are invited to attend. Next Sunday, there will be a newcomer meetup after the service. This is an opportunity to learn more about UUCF and what it means to be a member. It will begin in Adams Hall and end here in the sanctuary. Come one, come all to another yummy UUCF fundraiser event. Enjoy delicious chili and socialize after Sunday service on January 12th. Taste a variety of chilies made by your fellow UUCF members and friends, then vote for your favorite. Winner of the cook-off will receive a basket filled with kitchen-related items and spices. To enter the cook-off contest, see Karen Duguay. Deadline to enter is Sunday, January 5th. Remember to check the UUCF website or emails for other announcements about upcoming events. Today's chalice lighting is a quote from Lois Van Leer. We light this chalice on the brink of a new year, letting go of what has been, open and hopeful for what may come, renewed, restored, ready to live life fully anew. May we move forward with intention. Please join in singing from your seats. Number 362, Rise Up, O Flame, and we'll sing it through twice. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. Please join me in reciting our UUCF mission statement found on your order of service. We seek answers everywhere, include everyone, and live with compassion.
This morning, Brian Golden and Karen Duguay are going to light the menorah and recite the prayers. You're welcome definitely to speak from this mic.
No, I have to light the candles, right? I'm actually standing behind the menorah, so you can see what's happening instead of standing in front of the menorah. I'm standing behind it because normally you light the candle of the day that we are celebrating, which would be the 5th candle. And normally I would light it, if I was standing in front, I would be lighting it this way. So because I'm behind, I'm lighting it the opposite way. I hope you got that. This is the 5th night of Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lechadlik ner shel Chanukah.
In English, this means, "Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the Hanukkah gifts."
The second prayer is Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa nisim lavotenu, bayamim hahem, ba'azman hazeh.
And in English, that means, "Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of all, who performed wondrous deeds for our ancestors in days of old at this season."
On the first night of Hanukkah, there's a third prayer, but I thought I would share that with you because it has importance of arriving at this season. And the prayer goes like this: Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechiyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
And in English, that means, "Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of all, who has kept us alive, sustained us, and brought us to this season."
Thank you so much, Brian and Karen. Today's service is our second annual Poetry Sunday. So we are thinking about how words impact us and the way that we use words in our life. And not only sharing some words that some of us here have written or resonate with us, but the kind of the process of how do we come by them and how do they impact us. And so in a minute, our meditation is going to actually be Nikki Giovanni reading her poem, Quilts. And so what I would like you to do is pay attention to what comes up for you as she reads her poem. And she'll also go into just a little bit about why she wrote this poem. So I wanted to encourage you to think on that as you listen to her. So now Jamie is going to play this video.
Quilts. Like a fading piece of cloth, I am a failure. No. Quilts. Like a fading piece of cloth, I am a failure. No longer do I cover tables filled with food and laughter. My seams are frayed, my hems falling, my strength no longer able to hold the hot and cold. I wish for those first days when, just woven, I could keep water from seeping through, repel stains with the tightness of my weave, dazzle the sunlight. I grow old, though pleased with my memories. The tasks I can no longer complete are balanced by the love of the task gone past. I offer no apology, only this plea. When I am frayed and strained and drizzled at the end, please someone, cut a square and put me in a quilt that I might keep some child warm. And some old person with no one else to talk to will hear my whispers and cuddle near. I'm Nikki Giovanni. The reason I love quilts so much is that I am old, and I do hope that I can warm some old person or delight some young person. Life has changed. My life has changed, and the life around me has changed. I hope I've done a good job, but if I haven't, I hope someone cuts a little corner and says she was here, she tried.
I especially wanted to hear that because we didn't get to see the video, but I think even just hearing it was really powerful. Her voice was amazing. She recently died, and if you don't think that words have an impact on the world, then just think on Nikki Giovanni and many of our other famous poets who have impacted us long beyond what we can imagine. And it's hard to put into words how do these words impact us? How do they make a difference? And I listened to Nikki Giovanni and the way she talks about at the end of hoping that her life has made a difference. And I think on how, especially at the end, when we come to the end of a year, it's a time when we do this reflection and has my life made a difference? What did I do in this past year that has hopefully made a difference and made a difference to others, maybe even that I don't even know? How are we building squares that build a whole community together, creating a whole community quilt of space and love together? Let us take a moment to contemplate on that and imagine the quilts that we are building. Think on the quilts in your life. Perhaps a quilt was handed down to you by somebody else. Maybe there's somebody in your past. It could be a beautiful historic quilt. It could be a quilt made of ties, made by someone who thought, let's put all this together. All these scraps and images that all came together. All of this is a brand new piece, something new and beautiful, made of all different pieces of cloth. And it came to you or to someone else in your family, and it has meaning for you, all of these different pieces. Can you feel a quilt in your hands? What was the fabric made out of? Let us bring those images, sensory feelings back into this space. And we'll take another deep breath together. Let's turn to number 123 in your gray hymnal, Spirit of Life, which we will sing from our seats. Last year I started this little once-a-month gathering. I hesitate to call it a group. If you see the word group in front of the description, ignore that. It's just an opportunity for people to come together once a month to ruminate and think on how we can use writing as a spiritual practice. We call it the Writing Wonder Group. And so we use this book called The Pen and the Bell, Mindful Writing in a Busy World. And we take each chapter, one chapter a month, and we go through it, and then because they're all on some kind of topic and we think on how does this thought resonate with us. It's written by two authors. And we spend some time reflecting on it, and then we spend about 10 minutes just using one of the writing topics or prompts, and then we share with each other. And it's not about sharing like some beautiful piece or showing off. A lot of times writing can feel like a competition or like, let me show you how brilliant I am. That is not what this is about. So we put it in terms of what came up for me in this, or what was a memory that came up, or maybe this thought helps resolve something in another time or place that we hadn't even been aware of until we started taking a physical pen and putting it down on page. We don't like type in an electronics while we're gathering, because it's about this physical aspect. One of the things that I bring up a lot is our physical selves are in fact doing all of this. Like even the menorah, it takes physical work to do it. It's a ritual-based work. It takes us to do it. So that's one of the reasons why we gather and write out some things. So I thought I would just, before our readers come up, just to give some framing around why I think writing either prose or poetry, why it's important. And so if you even just do some random searches on this, so it's a very similar thoughts that will come up. That writing and poetry helps us to slow down our minds. It helps us to pay attention, whether it's because it can be a form of meditation, but without telling us that to only be quiet. Sometimes in the meditation world, we're told, like, thoughts are bad, or we have to get rid of our thoughts. If you're writing, your thoughts are great. You just keep putting them down, and putting them down. And one of the things I love about like a very basic kind of journaling process is that we're not judging what we're writing down. It's just thoughts coming out of your head without some expectation of an outcome. If you're trying to publish or something, that's different. But if you're just using it as a spiritual practice, as a writing practice that helps you get in touch, there's no judgment. It's just, what can I observe? What's coming up in this? This is observation without judgment. It helps us slow down our minds and release some of our own worries about things, and it makes us come to this moment in time. And so like one practice that I do if I'm writing and then random thoughts come up, because our brains are always going, right? So I'm doing that and some thought comes up that says, I have to call this person, or I need to write this email. Like, have another sheet of paper over here for when that list comes up. Okay, here's my bullets. I'll just put them over here, but I don't have to like keep me from doing my writing practice. But acknowledging that the brain never truly shuts off. In meditation or in the Buddhist world, they actually call that monkey mind, where you can acknowledge, okay, I see you, but I'm not going to let you take over. And like, you're there, and I'm not going to make myself bad for having monkey mind, because we all have it, right? So it's just what it is. It's not that I'm bad or there's something about me that isn't working right. It's just that's how our brains function. They always want to like do many things, but it takes practice. That's why it's the slowing down, and you can be a meditator or a writer for a very long time, decades even, and still have your brain going in all different directions. And just accept, like, this is the norm, this is what's going to happen, and I'm not going to shame myself for it. This is just how that works. And so today we have 4 readers who are going to come up and share some of what they've written in their own lives, and perhaps a little bit about why that particular thing called to them, or something about why it was important for them. And so we have Barb Ivan, if you want to come on up, and they're all going to come sit up here. And so Barb Ivan, Mike DeMott, Bruce Lund, and Ben Goldberg, if you want to come up and have a seat. No particular order. Yes, no particular order, and no particular order for just because you're sitting in this order doesn't mean you have to share in this order. And so what we're going to do is each of them are going to share something that they've written and a little bit about why it was important to them, or perhaps a little bit about their writing process, because sometimes in our world there's this idea that writing is some mystical, magical thing that only certain people can do. But I'm here to tell you that that is just not true. All of us have access to that process and that ability to get in touch with ourselves in that way. And so who would like to share first? Go ahead, Mike. Yes. But tell them your name.
I'm Mike DeMott, and nice to see everyone. When I started attending this group, the thinking of writing as a spiritual practice, I really didn't think of it that way, because I'd done journaling in the past over the years, and so this was good for me. To start trying thinking this way, and like what Reverend Karen said, it's definitely been a good thing for me to slow down. That's, even to say, okay, I'm going to write for a while, even doing that is kind of like a slowing down process. thinking a little bit more. And I think it's helped me to, understand my feelings, understand my thoughts. You start putting them down, and then you kind of, they expand a lot of times. So, but, and I might think about the past, something happened in the past, what's going on right now, or something maybe I'm doing tomorrow, or how my day went and the positive things I enjoyed, or whatever, But a couple things as far as, I thought about an experience I had as a kid where, I had switched bedrooms. So I was in a bedroom with a window that was kind of looking out over the field behind our house. And there was woods, and then there was a lake, and then there was a highway. So, I started realizing that, well, I could hear these semis on the highway. But it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't like they were a bunch of semis, there was some semis. So, and then I think in this whole process of doing this group, it made me remember this and kind of attach a little more significance to it. Like, oh, this is a nice experience. I like this, remembering this. And then one other thing, like pickleball. We did a chapter on movement. Well, pickleball, you're moving. And I like movement. And so in that, you're enjoying the movement, and you have a partner, and so and the fun thing is kind of like, you could be nice to make a good shot, nice to make a good, to win, that type of thing, but it's kind of evolved for me where it's nice to have good volleys, where everybody's feeling really engaged and really excited about it. Those are kind of the best moments. And then one last thing, so my wife and I were out shopping, and we got a little hungry, so we thought, well, we'll stop in McDonald's and grab a hamburger. So we're, going through the line, and I said to my wife, well, do you think I should write about this so we have a deeper experience of these McDonald's hamburgers? And she said, no. So that's it.
Thanks, Mike.
I'll go.
Okay.
I think the last poem I
Say your
wrote-
name.
Oh, I'm Barb Eilvan, part of Social Justice. And I think the last poem I wrote was about a candy store when I was little, so I'm not going to share that today. But I read this. It's really, I call it poetic prose, and I read this in an autobiography probably a good 10 years ago. And it so resonated with me only more and more. I won't share the author. I can do that later because I feel like if you hear the author's name, you're going to focus on that. Kind of like if you see a movie with Julia Roberts, you can't get in the character because you keep saying, that's Julia Roberts. So here it goes, and it doesn't, because it's not really a poem, I guess, and it's from an autobiography, it doesn't have a title. When a random turn or two brought me more than once to the edge, I did not topple into the tangled mysteries below. But on that glassy threshold, the great strengths of my life pressed themselves into being, my elusive tools for survival. Gifts from some primeval ancestor, passed in secret along the chain of my forebears. In the end, mine is a navigator's sense of place and the strength again to hoist the sails, the will again to catch the winds, and even when the land and all I have ever loved are lost to me, and the stars are shrouded, and I am sore with losses and afraid, even then, the miracles all around will leap to celebrate themselves, and I will celebrate them too. And even then, I'll trust that a new shore will rise to meet me, and there, in that new place, I will find new things to care about. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
Well, I'm Bruce Lund, and my wife and I have been members of the Ann Arbor Unitarian Church writing group for about 10 years, and we meet once a month. In each month, we have to write something, so get the pen out and get it done. So 10 years worth of once a month writing. But what I'll be reading today actually came from an online writing or online class that I took, and the title of that class was Writing About Spirituality. And at the end of the class, it was, I think, 10 weeks, we had to have a project. And the project was, of course, writing about spirituality. So what I'll read today is my project. And it is really a personal spiritual reflection, not exactly a poem. And the title is 3 Big Questions. It's the spring of 2024, and I'm at my laptop typing my final project for my online class called Writing About Spirituality. The topic of my final project is ambitious, to say the least. I plan to answer 3 big questions. Number 1, is there life after death? Number 2, why is there anything? Number 3, why is religion inevitable? What have I gotten myself into? I'll need to ask for help from 3 friends of mine. The first is Carl Sagan, now sadly deceased. The second is a child from 40,000 years ago. And finally, my urologist. Here goes. Number 1, is there life after death? Watch out, you're going awfully fast. We barely missed hitting that big red star. Who are you? I'm Carl Sagan. This is my ship of the imagination from my Cosmos television series. We ran this video at the beginning episode of every episode of Cosmos. We never hit the star. Carl Sagan, I watched your Cosmos series in the 1980s. I really liked it. But I'm on your ship of the imagination. How did I get here? You thought about me. Carl, you inspired my generation of baby boomers to be skeptical yet daring, to think big thoughts, to remember history, to struggle against superstition, to care for the planet. But Carl, you died in 1996. How are you here? The answer is simple. You thought about me. I'm living in your thoughts. I live in the thoughts of those who remember me and watch my Cosmos television series. You thought about my ship of the imagination. Let's go for a ride through the cosmos. Number 2, why is there anything? I need to tell you a story. I made up this story, but it might even be true. In South Africa, 40,000 years ago, there was a young boy, a member of a tribe that lived in a cave on the shoreline of the Indian Ocean. In an idle moment, during a sunny afternoon, while looking out over the ocean, he might have once wondered, why is there anything? When the tribe gathered in the evenings about a fire at the opening to their cave, it was then that stories of demons and spirits were told. How the demons and spirits had brought about the cave, the ocean, and all that is. And what the demons and spirits wanted, and what the tribe must do. All this the child learned. He learned why there is anything. I sometimes think about my memories of another beach. This beach provided the backdrop for the beginning scene of the first Cosmos TV episode in 1980. The young and handsome Carl Sagan is standing on the beach with wind blowing in his hair. He is introducing the audience, his television audience, to his Cosmos series. The noise of pounding ocean waves give background to Sagan's words. His words are gallant and promising and uplifting. He talked about the human potential for discovery and exploration. Still, in all the episodes of Cosmos, he did not answer the question, why is there anything? In a cosmos without demons and spirits, Sagan could not give an answer. Number 3, why is religion inevitable? 5 years ago, my urologist told me that I had signs of having prostate cancer. He said I needed a biopsy. 3 weeks later, it was done. Now I must wait for the results, coming in 2 more weeks. While waiting these 2 weeks, I tried to be objective, knowledgeable, strong. Still, there were the weaker moments, waking in the night, fear of debilitating treatments, and ultimately of dying. It was a night before my appointment where I would be given the results of my biopsy, and I couldn't sleep. Then I found a source of strength. I thought about the hundreds of generations of my Norwegian male forebears and imagined them all gathered on a Norwegian mountaintop. They would watch over me. The next day, I learned the biopsy was negative. The urologist smiled and shook my hand. I think he was happy. I told the urologist my story about how I gathered strength from thinking about my ancestors on a Norwegian mountaintop. The urologist turned to me and asked, "Are your ancestors still on the mountaintop?" I haven't looked. "Well," said the urologist, "at least you learned why religion is inevitable."
Thank you.
Most of my poems are kind of vibe killers.
State your name.
Oh, sorry, I'm Ben. Nice to meet everybody. It's been a while since I've been here. And most of my poems are vibe killers, so if it's okay, I'm gonna read some thoughts I have about poetry in general and a couple of poems that I really love. And I'm gonna start with kind of a UU classic, Mary Oliver. And this is her poem, Don't Hesitate. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give in to it. There are plenty of lives and whole towns destroyed or about to be. We are not wise and not very often kind, and much can never be redeemed. Still, life has some possibility left. Perhaps this is its way of fighting back. That sometimes something happens better than all the riches or power in the world. It could be anything, but very likely you notice it in the instant when love begins. Anyway, that's often the case. Anyway, whatever it is, don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crumb. And I don't know, what I love about this poem, obviously that ending is killer, but what I love about this poem is that it really doesn't ask much of us. It asks for 30 seconds of our time, and that we listen with the possibility that its 13 lines might move us to live a little bit more deeply. It asks that we open ourselves to moving a bit more joyously through the world, which has always needed joy, and especially now is in dire need of joy. Usually this is kind of the moment where poets, a lot of us, we are aware of what people think of poets. A lot of non-poets think of poets. And this is kind of where we would say something dry or disparaging about poetry, something to undermine the sincerity of what Mary Oliver is offering to us in her poetry. A lot of us, I think we cringe when somebody says unironically that a poem can save a person's life or that a poem can love us unconditionally. You know, we want to undercut that earnestness, it feels like a lot of the time, of such sentiments, or acknowledge them as sentimental or melodramatic. You know, there's this perception of the pretentiousness of poetry, or that it's notoriously unwilling to be accessible to, you know, just casual readers. And there's always kind of that kind of admonition people make that poetry is never going to feed a nation or, I don't know, prevent a geopolitical atrocity or something like that. But for me, I guess, what I've kind of realized the longer I live with poetry is that I become less certain about what it can or can't do, and I'm more comfortable with that uncertainty. I understand, though, for me, the experience of poetry is kind of what people describe experiencing their conceptions of the divine. And I don't say that hyperbolically, it is that way. It is quite simply a divine experience for me. What it does in me and how it moves in the world is kind of beyond what I even care to think about. It's not really something I give too much thought to. It's, to me, a question of faith, as real as any religious faith. And I just kind of remember an anecdote. I mean, it's not even an anecdote, it's a lived experience. I remember I was in high school, and I had a philosophy teacher who really didn't like teaching philosophy, so we would just stop in the middle of lessons and read poems. Probably would not get good reviews if admin were there, but I loved them. And he read this poem called The Eulogy of Jimmy Christ, and the poet was Reggie Gibson. And I really didn't realize in that moment that that poem would, I can't really think of another way to say this except to say, light the interior of my psyche. That's what it did for the first time in my life. And I could kind of see it for the first time, what my mind looked like and what I looked like. And I didn't know that whatever a person thought or sought, that there was a poem in the world for it. That whatever we experience, there are people across time, space, culture, geography, everything, generation, that have experienced something almost identical, committed it to poetry, and that can help us live our lives more authentically. And I definitely didn't know during those early years that as I was furiously reading and writing the thousands of poems that would sustain me to this day, that I was giving shape and body to all of those cosmic abstractions that so many of us think we're here to live on this planet. Purpose, discovery, pleasure, worship, and as Mary Oliver says, joy. So with that in mind, I got one more poem I want to read. This is one of my favorites, and the poet is, Agha Shahid Ali. The poem is called Tonight, and this is kind of an ancient form. Its origins are Persian. It's called a ghazal. And again, the poem is Tonight. Where are you now? Who lies beneath your spell tonight? Whom else from rapture's road will you expel tonight? Those fabrics of cashmere to make me beautiful, trinket to gem, me to adorn, how tell tonight? I beg for haven. Prisons, let open your gates. A refugee from belief seeks a cell tonight. God's vintage loneliness has turned to vinegar. All the archangels, their wings frozen, fell tonight. Lord, cried out the idols, don't let us be broken. Only we can convert the infidel tonight. Mughal ceilings, let your mirrored convexities multiply me at once under your spell tonight. He's freed some fire from ice in pity for heaven. He's left open for God the doors of hell tonight. In the heart's vain temple, all statues have been smashed. No priest in saffron's left to toll its knell tonight. God, limit these punishments. There's still judgment day. I'm a mere sinner. I'm no infidel tonight. Executioners near the woman at the window. Damn you, Elijah. I'll bless Jezebel tonight. The hunt is over, and I hear the call to prayer fade into that of the wounded gazelle tonight. My rivals for your love, you've invited them all. This is mere insult. This is no farewell tonight. And I, Shahid, only am escaped to tell thee, God sobs in my arms. Call me Ishmael tonight.
Let's take a moment to just savor everything that we've heard. If we truly believe our mission statement of seek answers everywhere, and that includes all of you and everything that we learn and grow from and listening to each other. Thank you to all of our readers today, and I know that some of you also brought poems, so if you have the chance to listen to each other downstairs. Last year, we kind of framed this as a listening service, so thank you so much for your careful and thoughtful listening to our readers and sharers. And if someone downstairs would like to share a poem with you, please listen. So thank you so much. Thank you to our readers. You may have a seat.
A perfect heart is one that has known love and loss, joy and sorrow. The perfect heart is one that has been shared. As joys and sorrows of our community are shared, please direct your energy, prayers, and meditations as a gift of compassion and strength. You are welcome to come pick up a stone or stones from the table, infuse or charge it with your joy or sorrow, and place it in the singing bowl where its energy will ripple out to be held by all of us. If you'd like to verbally share something important on your heart, please come up and speak directly into that microphone. All are welcome to participate in any of these ways. We light 3 candles for the intentions that rest in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. 1 for the joys, 1 for the sorrows, and 1 for the strength of the gathered community that can support you and bring you peace. The offering that we take each Sunday isn't just a stale habit. It's an opportunity to recommit to this place and to this people. Our offering is an affirmation, a yes. When we give, we say yes to something we value. With our gifts freely given, may we say yes to the values of our faith. May our offerings help us practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation as tools to empower our mission. Please recite with me the dedication of the offering listed in your order of service. To the work of creating beloved community within and beyond these walls, we dedicate ourselves and our offerings. Please rise as you are willing and able for our hymn from the Gray Hymnal, number 15, Lone Wild Bird.
Our closing words are from one of my favorite poem writers that this person has spoken to me for many, many decades, and I'm sure to many of you. Rainier Marie Rilke, Letters to a Young Poet. Have patience with everything unresolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't search for the answers, which could not be given to you now, because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps then, someday, far in the future, you will gradually, without even noticing it, live your way into the answer. Amen.